I'm not sure exactly. Hey, it looks like I am live. What do you know? All right, so let me just get the camera in place, and then I'll go back to getting this cherry wood ready to dry. So I've already got a fair amount of it cut up over here. I've got a fair amount more to do down there. And I'm using a little jig that I made, this guy right here, to try and keep the round logs from snagging and causing trouble. It's still not great, but you'll see. It's going to be really loud when I turn on the vacuum and the bandsaw, so sorry about that. Maybe turn down the volume. If you want to ask any questions, go ahead and throw them on there, and I will try to monitor periodically. I'm not sure how easily I'll be able to tell because I've just got the mobile device here. First time trying the live with just the mobile device. So let's go. All right, that actually went a lot smoother than some of the previous ones, I think because it's a fair amount thinner. And you can kind of see the cut there. Not too bad. It's got the typical bandsaw marks on there, but really not nearly as bad as it could be. So anyway, this one is a thinner piece. So I've been using this plywood construction. So basically it's just a little L, and then I ride it along the fence like that. And so then that keeps it relatively secure. I still get some binding, and this is just a half horsepower bandsaw. It's an old 12-inch Craftsman bandsaw, and so it can only handle so much. And so what I've been doing is, cutting off a segment and then stopping it, moving the fence over 1 1/4 inches, shaving off 1 1/4 inches, and then stopping it, cleaning, moving it over another 1 1/4 inches. With this one, where I'm down to really not much more than 1 1/4 inches, if in some segments it might be less than that, I'm actually just going to run it against the fence like that and shave off whatever excess there is beyond the 1 1/4 inch. So let me just get my ruler out here and adjust the fence. I'd like to get a different system for the fence. Something that is kind of built in, and so I don't have to use these clamps and everything to always be adjusting. But I haven't really thought of what that system would be yet. So if you have any ideas on what I could do on this system, go ahead and throw it in the chat, because that'd be nice to be able to have that on. Be nice to have that on the bandsaw. It's a pretty small bandsaw table, so it doesn't give me as much support as I'd like to have, especially when I'm looking at some of the boards here that I'm going to be cutting. But anyway, it'd be nice to have a fence that's got some measuring tape on it, and a little bit simpler method for securing it down instead of having to use the clamps and measure by hand every time. All right, on we go. All right. That went pretty quickly, in part because there was so little to cut off there. So, all right, I'm not sure if I'm... Oh, hey. Let's see. If you're not careful when the blade snaps. All right. Let's see. Is it a Craftsman? Yes, it is. Oh, hey. Let me... I didn't have the chat opened up, so now I can actually see what you guys are saying. Hello, Dylan and Mike. And yeah, bandsaws can be pretty dangerous. It is a Craftsman. It's a 12-inch Craftsman, pretty old. I got it used for pretty cheap. Yeah, you might have the same saw. There are quite a few of them out there. I have seen a few different varieties, though. This one's got among the smaller tables. I've seen a few of them available lately on Marketplace that appear to be the same, but they have their 2-speed Craftsman bandsaws. This one, as far as I know, it's just a single speed. I haven't ever noticed any way to change the speed on it. But there are 2 speeds, and then they also have a larger table. So those are maybe better than this one, but let's see. Oh, there we go. All right. So put those guys over here. And let me pick out my next victim. Oh, let's see. This one looks like he could be all right. And I'm gonna take the fence over a little bit. So what I've been doing before securing it to the plywood is just cutting off some of these branches that, you know, could make it a little less easy to work with. So that's pretty much the only one on this one. So not nearly as difficult as several others. So then I've just been putting it on here, trying to set it so that it's secure. And then I'll just put in a couple of screws. If I can get it close enough to the plywood. Let's see here. All right, that worked. And then on this side, I probably want to put it right here. So I haven't done one of those yet. I've got a few other holes from where I've put other stuff in. So I think this is probably going to be about the best place. So I'll put the screw right there. It's nice to have some scrap plywood that, you know, I just salvaged this from some shipping containers. So, you know, didn't pay dollars for it. So not really too worried about beating it up. Oh, back that off a little. There we go. There we go. All right. So should be on there relatively securely. And then I'll just kind of measure this to see how much I want to take off in the first pass. And that's probably about right. And then once I get this set up, I'll come see if there are any messages I need to respond to before I turn the noise back on. All right. Not sure why, but my chat keeps disappearing. Don't hit the screws. Yeah, good point. That's part of the reason why I put this lip on. So the screws are 1 1/4 inches going into the wood, and my little lip here is 1 1/2 inches. And so part of the reason for making that just a little bit wider than the length of the screws is to make sure that if I've got the blade closer than that lip, then I know I'm too close, and I'm in danger of hitting the screws. So that was part of my reasoning for putting that lip on there. It also helps to stabilize the wood there. Let me see what other comments there were here. wish it would just stay up there so that I don't have to keep turning this on. 11:30. You're yeah, going to bed. Yeah, we're in Mountain Time here, so it's I don't know 10:30. You know, what is it? 9:30, whatever it is. So let's see if I'm not careful. Okay, yeah, blade snapping. Yeah, that's definitely a danger with bandsaws. And hey Mike, hey Raja, good to see you. And don't hit the screws. Hello, brother. Smart. I like to think so. And oh, Carrie, did I didn't see? Oh, hey, Carrie. Thanks for joining. All right. So might want to turn the volume down for a second as I turn on the vacuum and the bandsaw again. All right. So now that I've got that skin removed, I can go to my 5/4 measurement. So I'm just going to see right now this is at 4 1/4. So I'm going to adjust it to 3 inches. And there we go. And then I'll lock it in. Then I'm ready to go another round. Let me check. And yeah, the motor is I think the issue is a few different things on the motor. Number one, and you can, I don't know if you can see it on, if it comes through with the resolution, but the blade is actually stopping. So I think there are a couple of things going on. Number one, this is very green wood. This has just been cut down within the week. And I'm not sure exactly how hard cherry is on the on the hardness scales, but it's relatively hard. And yeah, this bandsaw is only half horsepower, and so I'm kind of asking a lot of it. And yeah, so you're right, Mike, that it may not be strong enough to do the job, but I'm making it do the job anyway. So it's the only bandsaw I've got. I've thought about adding another one and just using this one for curvy cuts and getting something more robust for resawing and stuff like this. But for now, this is the only one I've got, so it's the one I'm using. But if there are any ideas on what I can do to tune this guy up so that he works better, and maybe I don't have the blade stopping so much. I think part of that is just I'm not, even with the plywood, I'm not getting it completely. It's not moving through completely well without kind of moving up and down a little bit, and so I think it's binding a little bit. And when it does, I just kind of back it up and then kind of slowly go through. So anyway, yeah, I'm open to ideas on how to do this better. So if anyone's got some better methodology, I like to learn. So lay it on me. All right, vacuum and bandsaw coming back on here in a second. All right, here's the first cut, and then here's that last cut. I don't know if you could. Oh, I don't know if you. Maybe I wasn't showing the camera very well. But all right. Let me see if I've missed any chats here. Vineyard, hey. All right, new blade. Let's see. Would I do this on the tables? I think I'm carry on the table, so I think that would be a lot more dangerous. So the table saw would be a lot safer, or it'd be a lot more powerful. But yeah, I don't know that. I don't know that it'd be as easy to clamp down. I could probably just get some, some various clamps and jigs to do it on the table saw. I just haven't ever thought to do that. Let's see. Let's see. Someone asked about a new blade. This actually is a pretty new blade. It's a carbide blade from Lennox. So I don't think that's the problem. I think it's mostly the just the wood being really, really green and the bandsaw being not that not that powerful. Let's see. Push a wedge in close to the blade. Not sure about that one though. Yeah, I was actually thinking. Let's see. This saw has no edge, brother. I'm not sure what that means. Let's see. Yeah. So let's see. I think there was. Yeah. So push a wedge in close. Yeah, I was actually thinking about taking my cut here and making it at a 90 degree so that it kind of acts as a wedge. But you know what? Let me try that. Might as well, right? Give the people what they want. So I'll take that off of there. And then I've just got some screws attaching this to the plywood. All right, so I'll just make sure that I'm cutting off the right side. That is not visible enough. I need to use some marker. All right, and all right. That way I don't lose my screw holes on the other side. All right, now the best way to do that on my table saw, I think I'm going to set up my auxiliary fence. You can kind of, I'll just shift over here, hopefully without dropping the camera. All right. So I just got, so I've got the auxiliary fence here that I've added on. So then I'll just put on a zero clearance, I guess, or a sacrificial. That's what I want, a sacrificial fence, so that I can get close enough to not have to worry about anything here. All right, and move all this crap out of the way. All right. And all right, so I am going to switch out my 90-degree with my, where did I put my 45-degree zero clearance? There we go. Labeled 45-degree. All right. And maybe it's not at 45 degrees right now. Oh, you know what? I need to need to just lower it, and then it'll go on. I'm brilliant. There we go. All right. All right, that should be good enough. And then I will bring my fence all the way over here. And all right. Just thinking about kickback here. I mean, I think that's going to be such a small piece. Is that really going to cause any problems? But probably, and you'll catch it on camera. So pretty exciting day for you. And all right. I didn't die. Hooray. All right. So now I'll throw this guy back on. And all right. And let's see if this wedge-like setup makes things any better. I don't know that it could make it any worse. So, got that going for us, right? All right. And let's see, what piece was I working on? Was it this one? Yeah. All right. So, yeah, that I think already is going to be better because with that wedge shape in there, I can get a lot closer to yeah. I'm just going to position it up here so that I've got a fence that I can make sure it's flat against the fence when I put that back on. And over here. All right. So let's see if that gets us any better results. Let me check chat before I. Oh, yeah. Maybe it'd be good to let you guys actually see what I'm doing over here. Yeah, there we go. I have to turn the camera. Yep. Sometimes I figure things out after a while. Sometimes, but it can take me a bit. Oh, Cat's Peace, good to see you. And let's see. It looked pretty clean. Yeah, not too terrible. And yeah, hey, I like help problem solving. All right. All right. So let's see. Okay, I need to adjust this now because. All right, so that's where we were with our last cut. So now I want it 1.25 inches shorter. So I'm gonna fix the insert there. So that's at just under 3. So just under 2.25. All right, that should be good. Let me grab my clamps back from over there. I guess I could get some of the other clamps from the wall, but why would I do that? All right, line it up, make sure that that's what I want to do. That looks about right. And let me just make sure that I still have about 1.5 inches of length on here. 1 3/8 basically is remaining on my lip. So I just wanted to make sure that my 1.25 inch screws are not going to get, are not going to hit. So I've got plenty of room there for that. So no worries. All right, vacuum and bandsaw going back on. Hopefully not as much binding this time with that little wedge shape down there. So might want to turn down your volume. You know what? There were still a couple times there where it bound up and the blade stopped, but I think overall that was a lot smoother. And here's the thanks, Kat. Peace, appreciate it. It is fat. Yeah, I thought it was a lot faster and smoother. And actually, I think it was this side that I was cutting. I'm showing you the other side, but yeah, I don't know if the cut quality is any better, but I did feel like it was faster and smoother going through, and part of that might be because I was cutting on that time. I was cutting not as thick portion because I'm getting closer to the end, whereas on the last one I was cutting more in the middle. But I think it was better overall. All right. So, all right, and disconnect this guy and that guy, and I don't think that's enough to try worrying about. So I'll just set them over here for now, and on to the next piece. Let's see. I wish the chat would stay up so that I could see if and when there are new things coming in. You know what? I'm going to do what may be the thickest piece I've got. So now we can really see if that wedge is doing much difference or not. All right. So that's that's about 4.5 inches diameter, give or take, on this end. So it's a pretty good sized chunk. Let's see what's going to be the best way to put him through. I think he's got a bit of an angle to him. So I think that's probably going to be best right there. All right, and I think he's got a little protrusion here that might be my best bet. All right. And, all right. I'm not sure if my fence is going to give me enough space. Let's see if how hitting the. All right. You know what? I think right about there should work. So I'm going to lock him in right there. Oh, I think it was right about there, and that's probably about as far over as I can go. So it doesn't really matter if that's the spot I was in anyway, because I can't go any further. Why bother? All right, so And going to bed, Carrie? You know what? I've heard many people say that my voice has a tendency to put people to sleep. So maybe just keep the live on and you might get to sleep faster than if you turn it off. All right. But in the meantime, I'm going to turn on the machinery. So might want to turn down your volume for a moment. I think that went pretty smoothly. I think that might be our nicest cut so far. So there's still some blade marks there, some bandsaw blade marks, but overall not too terrible, I would say. All right, there we go. So right now we're at a little over 5. So I want to go over 4 right there. And then lock it back in. I tried earlier to just keep my fence at the 1.25 mark, and I had my support on the opposite side, and just tried to roll it against the table, but it was just binding way too much. So I decided I needed to have it right against the fence, have the jig right against the fence. So it's doing much better now than it did before. See any? Let's see. Okay. The blade is nearly brand new. Yeah, it's a carbide Lennox blade, so that shouldn't be the problem. But you never know. Maybe I got a dud. I've used it maybe for one or two other things that were pretty insignificant. So yeah, I don't think that's the issue. All right. All right. So I'm gonna cut the next segment here. right, that's probably the toughest cut that I've made it do so far. Just because it's thicker, and I feel like there's more bandsaw marks on that one. A little deeper as well. Let me get this set up for the next cut. And Mike, going back to your point about the blade, like I was saying, I don't think the blade is the issue, but I think you were saying that you've got a similar Craftsman. So I wonder what how yours performs. Do you ever have any? I'm guessing that yours does a lot better than this one does. Let me know in the comments or in the chat, because I think there are a few things that I need to tune up on this guy. One of them being the belt. I think I need to get a new belt, or at least tighten this belt down, because he's got quite a bit of play. I don't know if you can see there's quite a bit of play in there. So probably I should get that tightened, or maybe just replace the belt. It's probably the original belt. And yeah, as far as the motor, like I said, it's a 0.5 horsepower. So I don't know that it's really intended for, let's see, fewer teeth and more rake. Yeah, so this one is, I think, either 3 or 4 TPI. So yeah, I got it intentionally for resign. You've never tried to saw, like, yeah, that's, I think part of the issue is that, this is I'm just asking a lot of it right now with the wet cherry, and, cherry is a lot harder than what I'm usually cutting on here too. So, I've done cedar and just plywood and bandsaw boxes and whatever, and it tends to do pretty well with most other stuff. But yeah, it's let's see, tried some bowl blanks, do a round blank, some success, not much though. Yeah. Oh, you've given up on on the Craftsman. Yeah, I mean, I can understand that, especially if you're experiencing it being as underpowered as I think this guy seems to be, especially relative to what else is out there on the market. But I got such a great deal on this guy that like, oh man. And then I was thinking about getting an additional machine. I mentioned earlier, I was thinking about getting another one, this one to do the curvy cuts that don't require a lot, and then a better machine for more substantial stuff. But then I just bought this stupid carbide tooth blade for a lot of money. Don't tell my wife. And so I'm like, man, I don't know that I really want to go out and get a better machine, get another carbide blade if it doesn't come with it again. And like, maybe I'll just make do with what I've got. And that's a lot of times how I operate. So, all right, on to the next segment here. So Mike, if you're still on, I was thinking on that cut, you asked about maybe the blade needs to have fewer teeth per inch or more raking. I think part of the problem is that because the wood is so wet, it's probably not raking away very well. It's probably just kind of sticking and clogging up that way. So that might be part of my problem is that the oh, here's the cut. You can kind of see that. Yeah, I see your comment there. That makes sense. That maybe the issue is that it's oh, let me adjust this. So yeah, that could definitely be playing into it. Let's see. So that would be take it down to 1. That takes me pretty close to where I would be. I'm going to go to 1 1/4, and then just do my my final pass on this one without the jig. Hopefully it's not too difficult. All right. I think I'll start with this side. There's not going to be much to take off anyway, but here it goes. So the other thing I was thinking about, I'll throw this out there before I check the chat, and then you guys can tell me what you think. I haven't really ever done air drying of wood before, and so cutting it down to 5/4, I figure it should take a year-ish to dry these down enough to where they're usable. Which of course seems like a really long time. And so, of course, I started doing some research into making my own kiln. And seems like there's a wide range of how involved it needs to be. Some are saying, hey, just use a dehumidifier as the heat source and you can make it pretty small. Others construct these huge, separate structures, bigger than my bigger than my shop just for the kiln. Maybe not that big. But do you guys have any experience with making kilns? Do you, what things should I be thinking about there? Let's see. And then the other thing I was thinking about on that last cut, Mike, you were saying before that you have maybe almost given up trying to use the Craftsman bandsaw. Do you have any other bandsaw that you're using, or are you, just saying, hey, you know what, I don't need a bandsaw. I'll do things another way. What kind of work are you doing, and that you can not use the bandsaw if you don't have another bandsaw to do what the Craftsman could do? And then to your question about the wood grain looking nice, I agree. Forgot to show you guys that last cut there. Relatively smooth, even though it cut out several times. And then, yeah, I like that. I like that quite a bit. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to make out of it. When I went and picked it up, she asked me, my friend asked me what I was going to make, and I was like, I'm not sure yet. I've got a little bit of time to think about it. So, a year or less if I do the kiln drying. But it'll be a while before I'm making anything with it either way. So, weeks if I do the kiln, a year plus if I just dry it by air. The other thing that I'm a little concerned about is if there are any bugs in the tree. That was the bigger part of why I was thinking about a kiln, was more about treating it for bugs versus drying it. And looks like to treat for bugs, you just have to get it up to about 130 some degrees for a period of time, depending on the size and everything. But yeah, you can see how green this is. Still got green growth on it here. A new branch trying to form there. So yeah, it's pretty wet. So all right, I'm gonna move this out of the way and cut off some of this extra stuff. And I'm thinking of actually cutting it, because this guy's got quite a bit of a bend to it. So I might just cut it off there. And well, it's got a bit of a bend down here too, but I think that's probably straight enough that I can work with it. But I might just cut off there. Or actually, you know what, maybe I'll just do right there, and I think I'll do that. So, all right, I'll just cut off some extra stuff here. that little stuff, the blade goes through like butter. I mean, it should because it's so small, but just so you guys know. All right, I'm gonna attach it like this. All right. My stacks are getting a little disorganized here, which is good and bad. Good because it means I'm getting a lot of it done. Bad because disorganization is terrible. All right. And let's see if I've got anything that will work. Nope, not really. Gonna need to drill a new hole. This is getting to be a very holy piece of plywood, though not very spiritual, just holy. All right. And that should lock that in. And then I'll check, see if there are any comments that are anxiously awaiting my attention. Let's see here. All right. I'm from New York. Hey, Nick. I have never been to New York. What part of New York are you from? I've got a sister-in-law who lives on Long Island. Let's see. Video work. I made one from. Yeah. Full turning hobbyist. Okay. So are you typically using a lathe? Is that your tool of choice? And yeah, incandescent light bulbs, fan. Yeah. It's pretty crazy what people can do to make their own kilns. I think with this quantity of wood plus what I still need to do over here, I don't know if a refrigerator kind of setup would work for that, but never know. I was thinking maybe build a little box with just some foam insulation. That would be a relatively cheap way to do it. I mean, I've already got plenty of wood. Foam is, I think, pretty cheap. I mean, I got a 4x8 board over here for really cheap that I use to cut on. But yeah, so I was thinking, why not? But yeah, I was thinking of it more. First I was thinking of it just for sterilization purposes, but then I was like, I'm going to build it to sterilize. Why not dry stuff out with it too? But also, in the little research that I've done so far, you have to be careful with the kiln about drying it too quickly, because then you can have the wood be too dry on the exterior and still wet on the interior, and it can cause cracking and all sorts of other fun stuff. So I was like, okay, do I really want to tackle that kind of a project, or are there other things in my life that are more critical for me right now? So we'll see. Like I said, it might be something that I tackle after a while, but probably I'll get all this cut up into the 5/4 segments, put it up onto a high shelf and not really think about it for a year anyway. And then I won't really have to worry about kiln drying it. Although I'll still need to worry about treating for bugs. So, and I probably should have thought about that more before coming in here and cutting everything up in the shop. But doesn't have bugs, right? Yeah, all right. On we go. For some reason, when I saw this piece, I thought of Teddy Roosevelt. You know, I may speak softly, but I carry a big stick. Not really that big, but that's what came to my mind anyway. Weird things come to my mind sometimes. And all right, 3 3/8. Get down to 2 1/8. Mike's going to bed? What? Or, oh man, Mike, sad to see you go, but hope you sleep well. It is late there. What part of the country are you in? Let's see. Good idea. That's what I do. Logs, let them dry and acclimate for a couple of years before I slice them. Yeah, yeah, and So these ones, they were just cut down recently. Um, I was thinking about just letting them acclimate for a while, but then I read somewhere that it's better to cut them down. That they dry a lot better and more uniformly if I cut them now. And the information I was seeing said that 5/4 is a good way to cut them, but I could be wrong. You know, I'm learning. So let me know what your experience has been on. Um, maybe it would be better not to cut it yet. Just let it sit for a year, 2 years, whatever, before milling it. And then obviously it should be close to being able to actually mill and use. But I'm an impatient guy, so I was like, you know what, I want to use it before I die, and so but um, why not try and get them drying better, faster, whatever. So all right, so I'm going to go for the next round here. All right, let me show you that cut. Let's see, I think it would have been this side, I think. No, which one was it? Where's this side? Right? Yeah, it's right there. Brilliant. There we go. It was, that's that cut. Went pretty smoothly. Bound up a couple times again. But let's see. That's what the mills do, so it makes sense to have, if you have the equipment to resaw wet. Yeah, and maybe I don't have the equipment to resaw wet, right? Make one of those chainsaw mill. Yeah, I saw that. He's got a pretty sweet setup. And oh, hey, Feisty Butterfly, good to see you. How are things in Utah? Yeah. You know, I've been pretty pleased with the cuts I'm getting. You know, not too terrible, really. And you know, the wood's going to move between now and when it's dry enough to use. And there's, I think, not a lot that I'm going to have to plane away to make this usable, but I'm going to have to plane it anyway when I go to cut it up, or when I go to use it, I mean. So, all right, I'll just stack that guy there for now. And then I've got little enough on here, I can just come on over here. And oh, Cat's Piece, I was going to ask you too, what kind of projects you do. I was looking on your channel a little while ago, I think this week, but I don't remember seeing, or I don't remember what kind of projects you do. And maybe you don't have projects on the website or on the YouTube channel, but I'm just curious, what are your favorite kinds of projects to do, and what do you make them out of? So again, I'm just going down to my 1 1/4 inch here. I'm not sure if I even have enough on this remainder to cut any off, but we'll try it anyway. Yeah, as I suspected, that hardly took anything off on that pass. So let's see. And all right. All right. Got a few more to do here. Which one should I do next? I think I'll go with this one. He looks doable. Got some funkiness to him. Got some little growths that I need to remove. So I will do that without the fence. Did you see that? Took off a little offshoot branch there, and it actually went down into the base plate here. Let's see if it's, no, doesn't seem to be blocking anything, so, all right. I was worried it might be causing issues down there, but it seems like it's fine. All right, so I'll attach this guy to my jig. And get the ruler out of the way there so that it's a little more secure. Okay, and Feisty, I'm curious if you're wanting to start any woodworking projects anytime soon. What's on the horizon for your woodworking career? And if not woodworking, tell us about your tarot stuff. For anyone else in the chat, Feisty does tarot reading. She has, she's done a lot of TikTok in the past. I don't know what the current state is on that, but you're kind of transitioning to YouTube or have transitioned to YouTube. Yeah, let us know what you're doing there. And let's see. Okay. Oh, Cat's Piece. All right. I do a lot of wood home decor items. We dabble in wood carving, whittling, power carving, and paint. Cool. Yeah, it's good to try new things and just see what you like to do. Author and content creator. Done some work for some of the community members, channels, friends. Okay. I'll rethink shelves for card collection. Okay. Okay, so you've got lots of videos on YouTube, but not a lot of lives yet. Have you moved a bunch of your, or not moved necessarily, but added a bunch of your TikTok content onto your YouTube channel? Is that why you have a lot of YouTube videos, but not a lot of YouTube lives? Knocked that over entirely. I think I'm just going to put it as far over as I can do it safely. And then Kat, on your content creation, what kind of content creation are you doing? And what kind of content creation do you prefer doing? What's your favorite type of stuff to do versus what is it that you're doing now? And maybe it's the same thing. Maybe you're doing what you like the best to do, but yeah, doesn't hurt to ask the question, right? I don't know, maybe it does hurt to ask the question. It can be painful. This board is a little wonky, so cutting a little more than what I've had to do on the other ones. But let's see where we're at on the chat. We think shelves. Okay, that's on TikTok. Record your TikTok lives, post, and check later. Past the 1,000 bid. Yep, Monday and Wednesday live at 11. You got to get some sleep. All right, that's fine, Feisty. I'll allow it. Thanks for checking in. Appreciate it. Always good to hear from you. I'll let the missus and the girls know that that you were on. I'm sure they'll be sorry they missed you, but probably not sorry that they missed my live. So they love my woodworking so much. All right. Right. Even though I didn't really cut a full amount there, I'm still just going to move it 1 1/4. I think maybe I should move it a different amount. But you know what? I think that's going to take off just a sliver here anyway. So that's probably just about where I want it to be. So let's see if I'm missing anyone. And okay, Kat. Please, I had over 200 vids on my channel talking about the healing journey through lung cancer. Oh, did you have lung cancer? Oh my goodness, that is crazy. Yeah, we've had a lot of medical stuff at our house, but no cancer, thankfully. That's although my sister-in-law had breast cancer. She's, as far as I know, doing pretty well. You should stream to YouTube and TikTok simultaneously. Get your live hours up for YouTube. Yeah, Feisty, I think I was talking to you before about StreamYard. I think that'd be one way to be able to simulcast the lives. I think there's some other software options out there as well. Cat's Piece, maybe you know a lot more about that. I just know a little bit. Because obviously I don't have a TikTok channel. I haven't worried about simulcasting. But I mean, Feisty might be gone by now anyway, but I wouldn't mind knowing if you know more about the options there for streaming simultaneously or doing YouTube Live and TikTok Live and whatever other lives there are out there. StreamYard is one option, and then what other options are there, and maybe what do you have experience with? What do you recommend? Those are all things that I'd be interested in hearing about, because I like to learn, and you never know when that might come in handy. So, all right, I'm gonna do our next pass here. does not want to do what I'm trying to make it do. So I'm thinking I just need to cut this guy off, and I'm just gonna try cutting him right here. Just kind of give me a relief cut, because I came in there and didn't have my board square to the fence, and so it was kind of screwy-wampus. I tried backing up and redoing it, and I just keep having issues with that. So I'm just going to cut this part off and start over. That was disappointing. I thought I was going to get a little bit deeper into this, and I think the problem why I was having so much difficulty there is, kind of this pith or knot or whatever right here in the middle. So yeah, that's not smooth at all. So good job. Good job, me. Let me see if any chats here to respond to, because okay. Also make reels. Okay. Following on Facebook and TikTok. Really gotten into making logos, promos, and intros for the woodworking fam. A few different apps for streaming. Googling to see which service is best. Okay, that makes sense. And of all the streaming services out there, what do you prefer? What's, where do you like to spend your time? Obviously, I see you on YouTube, but maybe there are other places that you prefer, or maybe there are features on some of the other platforms that you prefer. That's something I'd be curious about, since I really don't have any experience outside of streaming here. And I really haven't done many live streams either. This is, I think, just my third. But what features are on other platforms that YouTube doesn't have that you would like YouTube to adopt, or that you just really like and prefer there? So while you think about that, I'm going to vacuum. And I'm thinking about adjusting this so that I take off a little bit more here. But you know what? I'm just gonna go my full 1.25 inches for here and call it good. So 4 1/8. See if that's about right. Okay. All right. Yeah, this one has given me some problems. Having a lot of difficulty keeping it square to the fence. And then since I've got it, sometimes it's binding up. So this is the worst one I've done so far as not staying secure. And so I wonder if there's some issue with the jig that's causing that, or if it's just the operator. Um, User error is probably the most likely issue here, but oh, okay, let's see. StreamYard preferred by a number of people, or OBS and Streamlab. Yeah, and I think is OBS, is that one free, or maybe they all have free versions, and I don't know. That's my favorite price, so I'm always drawn to that. But only gone a few times. Only gone live on Facebook a few times. Yeah, Daniel. Yeah, he seems to have that ability, right? We'll start going live on YouTube shortly, or at least making content again. Cool. What type of content are you thinking to make? Are you going to be doing the woodworking and carving, or are you thinking to do other stuff? Be curious to hear what you have planned. Let's see. I think I'm going to give this one one more go, and then if not, I might just call it good for the night, and try to finish up the rest tomorrow or another day, because I think part of the problem that I'm having is that this is so long. It's it's about the same length as the plywood, and that's part of the reason why I selected this slab of plywood. It was so that I'd have support for as long as some of these pieces are. The stuff I have left to do over here, a couple of them are actually longer, but I'm thinking that with the difficulty I'm having with this one, it might be because of the length, and maybe I don't want to try cutting those guys up this way. Maybe I should cut them in half, or something other than half, just to make it a little easier to do this part with those. The downside then is that I don't have the full length, but I don't know that I'm really going to be building anything that would require the full length of those anyway. So, of course, as soon as I cut them, then I'll think of something that I want to build that would require the full length. So that's just how life is, right? Let's see. Are we doing a mix of woodworking, carving, art pieces? See where the wind takes me to. Yeah. See where the wind takes you. That reminds me of the opening and I think closing scenes of Forrest Gump, with the feather floating in the wind. See where the wind takes you. Maybe that's the imagery you were going for, but that's what came to my mind anyway. And then yeah, I was thinking about that as I was doing some of these, that I've got my the little wedge piece that I made here, just cutting the 45, but you can probably see that it's not really wedging that piece very well, and so I might replace this little lip with a more substantial wedge, and that's a good idea. I appreciate it. I might end up doing something like that, because if I do it, let's see, I might need to do that with something other than the plywood, though. Something that gives me something wider, taller to work with, so that if I cut it at a 45, then it ends up being taller than this guy. So then it can conform to these branches and or trunks, or whatever these are, conform to them a little bit better. So that's a good idea. I appreciate it. Let's see. And yeah. Yep, I hear you. You know what? I think I'm gonna call it a night. Thanks so much for joining and chatting with me. Really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to watching the content that you start putting out. That should be fun. Um, it's amazing how um, all the different creative instincts can be. I don't really consider myself that creative or imaginative, um, or artistic, really. um, but yeah, I see some of the stuff that people put out there, and the creativity and the artistry is pretty impressive. What people can do. So, yep. Good night, Cat's Peace. Thanks for joining. Take care. I am ending now.